Hello and welcome to day 5 of the Adventures in Tarot Casting. This is a series that I am doing where we spotlight some of the many creations that we make, and I show you a little bit of how to use them or how I personally use them. One of the things with my process and tarot casting and just this creative divination is I want you to get playful in your process. So I can show you how I use them, but as you're watching me, things may come in and go, oh my gosh, I would use it that way, or I would do it that way. And that is completely valid. I always say these are never rules, they're just guidelines, and guidelines are meant to be, they're meant to be malleable. They're meant to be morphed and custom tailored to how you may see fit. So today's board is what I have. I think I have it in our shop is listed as the Art Deco square casting board, because the styling of it, I just love repeated patterns, as I've mentioned in the mandala one from the other day. And this one I knew I wanted to do, it's based off of my Temple of Lenormand spread, but I created this board to also have card placement. So if you look, you can see there's this big one here, this big one here. There's space for 5 there, and then above and below. So if you don't have any tiles and you love the way this board looks, you could just use these, you know. Today, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to be using one large card, the center focus, and then I'm going to use the tile placements around it to just kind of show you how this board can be more like steps, you know, like if you're only using the tile placements, you've got a 3x3 here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you're familiar with Lenormand, the 3x3 is a 9 card reading with 3x3. So there's that, but in place of that, I'm going to be using a card, and then there's the tile placements on the side. And I've got Lenormand tiles. I have the Flash Lenormand, and I also have Benebell Wen's Spirit Keeper Vitruvian tile set, because I kept looking at that one, and that one seemed to be the one that wanted to come out and play today. So let's just get to it, shall we? I'm gonna, like before, I'm gonna talk a way through it. Oh, just a little bit about the design. Like I said, I really like repeated patterns and geometric designs and all that, and this is just kind of a stylized sun with lines, and it could even be a compass, you know. It really is just, when I draw stuff like this, sometimes I pick like, okay, I'm going to be doing linear lines, you know, which are straight lines, and I'm just going to keep going over and over until the design feels complete. And that was kind of this particular board, was I actually created it around the layout. So sometimes I'll create a board and then I'll add the card placements. This one I had the card placements first and I created the board around it. So let's shuffle. I'm using Out of Hand Tarot. Launches so soon. So excited about that. Okay, so the central focus. So this is going to be the main energy, and everything else around it is going to play off of this energy. Okay. Oh. Cut this deck. 1, 2, 3. So like I said, we're gonna put the main center. All right, yay. I love that this week I've had some cards where I'm like, okay, how are we gonna talk our way out of this one? So here we go, 9 of Swords. The 9 of Swords is a card that just, a lot of times, like I remember when I first saw it, I thought about that somebody was literally waking up from a bad dream and they were just kind of like, oh, not again, you know, like, and you think about what it is that keeps us up at night, right? Like the anxieties that just loop through our minds that, you know, oh, I shouldn't have said that, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, you know, the should-haves, the could-haves, the would-haves. It's just that overall feeling of not having any control over the circumstances around us, right? So I wanted for Pocket Appears, excuse me. It is really early still. It's like 5 a.m. here. For Out of Hand Tarot, I wanted it to emulate the feeling of somebody covering their eyes, like to diffuse it, you know, looking at something but still having some of the cracks that you can see through to not make it as bad. So it's kind of like, okay, what is it that's bothering us? What is it that might be weighing heavy on our mind that is keeping us up at night, that even when we're journaling it out, we still don't feel like we're getting to the root of that matter. So that is kind of the central focus of this spread. And I'm going to do, let's see, we're gonna do some tarot first. And this is where you can get really playful, because as I'm looking at this, you know, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm feeling really called to using these 4 corners. And so maybe these are gonna be pillars of letting us know why, right? Get that. So we have the 9 of chalices. So we can just layer it right over there, you know, because what it is it's helping us diffuse this situation. And then we have the Last Judgment, which is, and I love Benebell's Vitruvian deck and all of her decks, because she always has like what it is at the bottom, but then kind of some words around it. So it's like 9 of chalices is like the wish is granted, but then this one is the Last Judgment, 20 apocalypse, you know, so of course that's going to be weighing heavy. This one is the 4 of Cups, which is the hollow void. And we've got the 9 of Wands, 9 of Scepters, and that's the malaise. So of course it's I feel like this is a reflection of just kind of where we're at in the world right now. And of course that would make us being like very heavy on our minds. It's like, I see that wish card. I see the 9 of Cups, you know, as one of the cornerstones being like, life is good for us. Maybe there's aspects of your life that are really good, but yet we are facing what feels like apocalyptic times. And there's like a guilt that goes along with that. Like, how can I be happy when the whole world seems to be falling apart? Well, we have to find those happinesses in that space, or else we will never be able to survive that apocalyptic feel. You know, everywhere we look, if we're looking for something to judge, we will find it. And that's kind of with these two, with this energy all together, that's kind of what I see. And then the 4 of chalices is talking about, you know, in this, I love her representation because it's more of somebody praying and getting back into touch with themselves. The cups are in the background instead of being focused on, and a new cup is being handed to them. Basically, like when you feel like you're lost, when you feel like you're in this hollow void, which is what this card title says, it's time to get back to yourself. It's time to do your best to sit with these thoughts and work your way through them. And the malaise shows up with the 9 of Scepters, this thing of like, there's always going to be these battles. There's always going to be these things that we're facing, this, you know, oh, the malaise, oh, just the proverbial crap of the world, right? But we're still here. We can get through this. So maybe this card is going, oh no, not again, you know. And if you just keep reading it in a circular manner, it's going, okay, but it brings us back to the things that we want and the wishes that we are searching for. So maybe in order for that to happen, we have to really go through this, you know, the apocalypse, last judgment of our own. It could be feeling like it's playing out on a whole world, but now it's actually just, what are the things in our life that we're needing to take a closer look at and just kind of having to rethink about how we do things, you know, and that's where it cycles through. So you could do that. If you wanted more around it, you could add more tiles, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep it open there, and I'm going to add some here and here and here. So then I feel like we're going to do some Lenormand here. Like I said, when I do these videos, it's the playfulness. Like this particular board, there's so many different layers and so many different ways to read with it that you could sit down and do 10 different spreads and obviously get 10 different answers, but just kind of see which one is going to be the one that works for you, the one that feels right, right? So I'm going to put down the 4 Lenormand. And so we have the anchor. And I like to go like from left to right just because I feel like it builds upon the story. If you felt like going these two and then these two, or however you feel, like maybe you wouldn't do the diagonals. Again, this is not rules. This is just showing you how some of the possibilities. Clover. The tree. So we've got anchor, clover, mountain, and tree over here. And so I try and flip these over just because my light shines off of the vinyl. But all right, so we have, now that I've laid them down, I do read them in a vertical, but you could also read them horizontally. You know, again, this is your playful space. I'm just showing you some of the suggestions. So we have this fear that we're trying to diffuse, this anxiety that keeps looming, the things that the circulating thoughts, right? Anchor and clover could indicate what we really want. We want that stable opportunity, you know. But sometimes the stable opportunity, we sit here and we think about how this is something you wish for, and this is something maybe that you fought really hard for, and now you're standing at this resting place with that Nine of Wands energy and just kind of going, is this still what I want? And so now you're in the center space going, questioning. This is the doubts. This is, you know, this is where we're at. And we're going, oh, what am I willing to do to make sure that this opportunity is something that's going to be grounding, that something's going to be like worth taking, right? And so when you look at it and you see the verticals of this and you say, okay, well, now we have the Last Judgment or Judgment card and this Four of Cups, you're going, am I willing to sit through this kind of destruction and look at it and see what, you know, hearing this call of rising up and the shift and the change with mountain and tree together, you're going, well, this is a huge blockage perhaps on growth, you know, like maybe you were working your way towards something and then you got some news and now you feel like you're not going to be able to move forward, you know, like maybe it was some news about your health, or maybe it was just another obstacle on this path, you know, and then you're sitting here going, is it going to be worth it? So these are all valid thoughts when we're sitting in that Nine of Swords energy, when we're just questioning all the aspects. And I know the other day when I pulled a Nine of Swords, I said, when that fear comes up and when that anxiety comes up about what we're facing, it's because we know the brevity of what's going on, right? We know the full weight. And in this case, the mountain on top of the tree is talking about it's going to be a long time for this growth to happen, right? I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's just like the climate is not optimal to climb at this moment, right? So it's affecting our growth, and that's how we feel. But we see the opportunity and we see how much we want it, and that's where this anxiety is coming from. However, we could also read it, you know, going from left to right, like these two, like anchor and mountain, and you're saying, yes, but once you do it, it's going to be a big, stable position, right? Like how hard is it to move mountains? And it's pretty heavy to move an anchor. Like I see these two things as being very solid and foundational once you get through it. With tree and clover, it is a lot of opportunity for growth. Really simple, really fast, right? So then I'm going to do two more tarot tiles to just bring some clarity into that, because I feel like it's like, oh, all is lost. But it's never all is lost. I like to, if we identify a problem, I like to give some sort of solution, right? And so here we have the Angel of Justice, the Chancellor, so that is the Justice card. And then we have the New World Order, which is the Crown of the Magi. And so you see how I shuffle these in this bag. They are all mixed up, right? I feel like with the tarot tiles, I almost get a more authentic shuffle because it's really hard to like pull the same tile twice because they just kind of fall into each other in the nooks and crannies. So the reason I'm pointing that out is the amount of, you know, big major cards that we just got. So the Angel of Justice in this past position is saying, look, you were given this, you know, you were giving this opportunity because it's part of perhaps what you feel is your calling, right? The angel of justice is that chancellor. It's saying, here is your task. Like, these are your choices, take it or leave it, right? So you're choosing to go in this space of knowing that, all right, this opportunity for a new career or something that's going to be more stable in your life, like I said, up here, it's everything that you've wanted. It's what you've wished for. The wishes are granted because of what you've been through, you know, because of those trials in your life, the malaise, right? And that Nine of Swords is always that doubt. It's always like, am I worthy of this? Why me? Why did this justice card, why did this angel of justice choose me? I'm not worthy, I'm not this. I feel like we're at that part of the hero's journey where, you know, in a movie, there's always the downturn when the hero has to, like, is faced with the setbacks. And the setbacks are going, oh, but now you got to face the apocalypse and learn how to be peaceful during it. And that's going to be a huge mountain on your growth, right? Like, that's going to be this giant weight. But how do we overcome it? Because we are searching for this new world order. We are searching for this new thing that is going to change our whole world. And if our whole world changes, everybody that is in our orbit, it ripples out. Like, I love thinking that we have the chance to change ourselves, and then the people around us see it and maybe they like it, and so it ripples. There is a ripple effect, even if you don't believe it and even if you don't see it right away. One small action that you do, which it feels like you've been charged to do, is going to help bring in that peaceful idea of what the world should be, right? It's going to help complete this cycle in your life. So going to top off the reading with some Lenormand as action steps to take away, you know, as above and below. And I'm going to read these two together. That one flew across the room. Let me grab it. So we'll throw that one at the top. So we have the gentleman on the run. And we have mice. So the action steps is, there's a lot of holes in the patriarchy, right? Excuse me. So we have that gentleman card. And like I said before, when I get this when I get a signifier in a space of a collective reading, I look at it as more of the energy of that collective, whatever that signifier would be. And when I see gentleman, I think about the heavier hands, maybe the more dominant energy, the things that kind of go along with that archetype, even though I'm not trying to gender the card. So we're seeing like this dominant energy, and then we're seeing mice, and we're seeing all the little problems with that. So maybe the action step and the anxiety is like, you feel like you need to go at it with a heavier hand, but you know that there's a lot of problems with that, and that's what's gnawing away at you. So perhaps in this reading, it's saying there's issues with that way. Maybe it's the opposite of that. So to go forward, words. So to go forward with this energy, maybe you need to take the opposite approach, right? Because what this is doing has not been working, and you see that, and you're in this position of trying to find an alternate solution. And the alternate solution is understanding that that's no longer working. So we need to go gentle with it and solve all the little problems before we can go forward. So that's where this task feels a little daunting, but I don't feel that it is unattainable. And I feel that things will always be, you know, our world will always be changing and shifting, and that is a constant. So with this reading, now that we're done with it, and now that you see kind of the placements on it, you can see how it almost feels like a puzzle coming together, right? And like, that's what I was talking about with this board, and how there's so many different ways of reading with it. You know, if you wanted to get really, you know, saucy and layer more over it, you could, and I'm just picking two cards, so I don't know what that would be, you know. So knowing that these energies are here, you could stack them on top, kind of get like three-dimensional and vertical with your reading. So we got the Six of Swords is talking about moving away from it, and the Five of Pentacles underneath is you're afraid to move away because of maybe there's some hardship there. Maybe there's not enough money on the table. Maybe, you know, and then you could throw these down into those card placements. So now you have that 5 card placement layering it over. So there's just ways that you could really play with these kind of, with this particular board. I mean, you can play however you want with any board, but this one lends to it because of all the different steps and the suggestions. Those 2 8 of Swords with the 3 of Cups, the past position would be 8 of Swords leading into 9 of Swords. It's like getting in our own way and realizing we were getting in our own way. But what we really want is just to be able to sit down with those that we love and just be happy in the community, right? So that's this reading. That's this Art Deco board, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.